Surrender is one of the most misunderstood principles in spiritual practice. For many, the word suggests weakness, defeat, or resignation. But in truth, surrender is none of these. Surrender is not about giving up. It is not about losing power. It is not about abandoning responsibility. Surrender is alignment. It is the release of unnecessary resistance. It is the act of loosening the grip on control and allowing the deeper intelligence of the universe to move through you. The cosmic law of surrender teaches us that the more tightly we cling, the more blocked we become. The more we resist, the more stagnant our energy grows. But when we release, when we trust, when we open, when we let go, we create space for life to flow again. At the heart of our struggles lies a persistent illusion, the belief that we can control everything. The mind is conditioned to cling to certainty, to grip outcomes, to direct life by sheer will. Yet, this is the source of our suffering. Control is a surface-level power. It makes us feel safe, but only temporarily. Because the truth is, most of life cannot be controlled. You cannot control the timing of events. You cannot control the reactions of others. You cannot control the unfolding of the greater plan. When you live through control, you are constantly in battle with what is. And in that battle, peace is impossible. Surrender is the antidote. It breaks the illusion. It reminds you that you were never meant to micromanage the universe. You were meant to align with it. The act of letting go is liberation. It frees you from the chains of attachment. Attachment says, I will only be happy when this specific thing happens. Surrender says, I allow life to bring what is truly meant for me, in its right time, in its right way. When you let go, you do not lose. You expand. You stop narrowing your life to one single outcome and open yourself to infinite possibilities. This is why letting go unlocks everything. Because while control keeps you in a prison of expectation, surrender opens you to the vastness of what could be. Life begins to surprise you again. Synchronicities arise. Paths you never imagined reveal themselves. And blessings you did not even know to ask for arrive effortlessly. The ego fears surrender. It thrives on control, on grasping, on possession. The ego believes, if I let go, I will lose everything. But the opposite is true. In grasping you lose. In letting go you receive. Surrender is not about becoming passive. It is about shifting from ego-driven effort to soul-driven flow. The ego pushes. The soul aligns. The ego demands. The soul trusts. And the universe responds not to the ego's desperate demands, but to the soul's openness. Everything in the universe is energy. And energy flows most powerfully when it is not obstructed. Control obstructs. Resistance obstructs. Fear obstructs. Surrender removes the obstruction. It allows energy to move through you, to reorganize your reality, to align you with what serves your highest good. Imagine holding water in your fist. The tighter you grip, the more it slips through your fingers. But if you open your palm, the water can rest in your hand naturally. This is the law of surrender. By letting go, you do not push life away, you allow it to rest in your open hands. The reason we resist surrender is fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of losing what we value. Fear of emptiness. But uncertainty is not emptiness. It is infinite possibility. It is the space from which new creation emerges. Surrender requires trust in uncertainty. It is the willingness to walk without knowing the full path. To rest in the mystery. To believe that the unknown is not against you but for you. Every breakthrough begins in uncertainty. Every transformation arises from the unknown. What feels like loss is often clearing. What feels like delay is often preparation. What feels like emptiness is often the fertile ground of creation. The cosmic law of surrender is simple. When you let go, life flows. When you cling, life resists. It is not punishment. It is not arbitrary. It is the natural law of energy. Resistance creates tension, and tension blocks flow. Openness creates space, and space invites abundance. This is why surrender unlocks everything. Because in letting go, you align with the rhythm of the cosmos. You stop fighting life and begin dancing with it. The paradox of surrender is that the moment you let go, you become more powerful. Not the kind of power that dominates or manipulates, but the power of alignment. When you stop struggling against reality, your energy is no longer wasted in resistance. That energy is freed, redirected, and amplified. You begin to move with the current instead of against it. This is the hidden truth. The universe is not withholding from you. It is not punishing you. It is waiting for you to stop pushing against it. The moment you release your grip, you discover that life was already carrying you. Think of how much energy is spent holding on to things that no longer serve you. Old relationships, past mistakes, unfulfilled expectations, future worries. Each one is a weight you drag behind you. Each one slows your progress, clutters your energy, and clouds your vision. Surrender is the act of putting the weight down. It is the radical choice to stop carrying what was never meant to be carried this long. You cannot step into the new while clutching the old. You cannot embrace what is coming while gripping what is gone. Surrender clears your hands. It makes room. It opens space for the new to arrive. One of the most challenging aspects of surrender is timing. We want what we want, and we want it now. The mind believes that delays are denials. But the cosmic law of surrender reveals something deeper. There is no delay. There is only preparation. What feels late to you is on time in the universal rhythm. What seems stalled is often aligning behind the scenes. The pause you resent may be the very pause that prevents you from stepping into something unprepared. Surrender is not passivity. It is patience. It is trust that timing is intelligent, even when your mind calls it wrong. True surrender means releasing not only control of timing but also control of outcomes. This does not mean you stop desiring. Desire is natural. Desire is sacred. But you no longer chain your happiness to one specific form of fulfillment. You trust that the essence of your desire will be met in the way that serves your highest good. You may ask for love. But surrender means you do not demand it come from one specific person. You may ask for success. But surrender means you do not limit it to one rigid path. The universe is infinitely more creative than the mind. When you release outcomes, you give the universe space to surprise you with a better version of what you thought you needed. The ego will argue endlessly against surrender. It will say, if I don't control, nothing will happen. It will say, if I let go, I will lose everything. But look closely. How much of what you've tried to control has actually brought you peace? How much of what you've clung to has truly stayed? The ego measures power by grasping. The soul measures power by flow. Every time you let go, you prove the ego wrong. Every time you surrender, you discover that what is meant for you cannot be taken. And what is not meant for you cannot be forced. Surrender is not just a mindset. It is a frequency. It radiates trust. When you release resistance, your energy communicates, I believe in life. I believe in the intelligence that holds me. I believe I am supported. This frequency attracts support. Because the universe responds not to your words but to your energy. If you declare trust while vibrating with fear, life hears the fear. If you let go with true openness, life hears the openness. Surrender is the energetic bridge between what you desire and what is waiting for you. When you surrender, you also enter stillness. A stillness not of inactivity but of peace. The noise of struggle quiets. The frantic pushing subsides. The tension of needing falls away. In this stillness, clarity emerges. Intuition becomes sharper. Your inner voice grows louder. You begin to see what was hidden beneath the noise. The cosmic law of surrender is not about doing less. It is about doing from a place of alignment. And alignment is only possible when the inner storm has calmed. Every act of surrender expands you. It teaches your nervous system that you are safe in letting go. It trains your mind to trust what it cannot see. It rewires your being from fear to faith. At first, surrender may feel like loss. But soon you realize it is growth. Because what falls away is always replaced by something greater. The more you surrender, the more spacious you become. And in that spaciousness, life has room to pour its abundance. Consider the pattern. When you force, things resist. When you let go, things move. When you grasp, life slips away. When you open, life fills your hands. This is not coincidence. This is the law. The cosmic law of surrender operates with perfect consistency. It does not fail. The only question is whether you align with it. Because life cannot deliver into closed hands. It can only flow where space is created. Control is the great illusion. The mind convinces itself that if it manages every detail, life will obey. But what is this control truly? It is fear dressed as strategy. It is anxiety disguised as order. Every attempt to control is a declaration that you do not trust life. Every attempt to cling is an admission that you believe loss is stronger than abundance. But look deeper. The things you thought you controlled were never fully yours. People leave. Plans dissolve. Circumstances shift. What you thought you controlled was never permanent. The only true control you have is the choice to release control. The choice to surrender. This is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is the recognition that control limits, while surrender expands. Surrender does not push away what you want. It magnetizes it. When you hold on too tightly, your energy becomes tense. It sends a signal of lack, of desperation, of mistrust. This repels what you seek. But when you let go, your energy relaxes. You signal openness, wholeness, sufficiency. And the universe responds by matching that state. The law is precise. Tightness attracts delay. Relaxation attracts flow. The moment you stop chasing, life begins arranging. The moment you stop clutching, life begins giving. The magnetic field of surrender is effortless attraction. The greatest barrier to surrender is fear. Fear whispers, if you let go, you will lose everything. Fear insists, if you stop trying, nothing will work. But fear is not truth. Fear is a threshold. Every time you face the voice of fear and still let go, you cross that threshold. On the other side is freedom. On the other side is expansion. Fear is a test of trust. Not trust in chance. Not trust in passivity. But trust in the intelligence that governs life itself. The cosmic law of surrender does not demand blind faith. It invites lived faith. Faith proven by experience. Faith that deepens every time you discover that letting go never destroys you. It remakes you. Resistance is subtle. It hides in the body as tension. It hides in the mind as overthinking. It hides in speech as complaint. Every time you resist what is, you entangle yourself in it. You amplify it. You reinforce it. But surrender dissolves resistance. It says, this is here. I accept that it is here. And I do not waste energy fighting it. Non-resistance is not passivity. It is alignment. It is choosing to meet reality with openness instead of friction. In this state, life moves through you instead of against you. Problems transform into teachers. Obstacles turn into doorways. Setbacks reveal hidden timing. Non-resistance is the silent power of surrender in motion. One of the most profound acts of surrender is releasing the past. The mind holds onto stories, replaying them like broken records. Regret, resentment, guilt, nostalgia, all are forms of resistance to what has already ended. But the past is untouchable. You cannot edit what has already unfolded. You can only choose whether to carry it or set it down. Surrender means allowing the past to dissolve. It means no longer binding your identity to yesterday. It means freeing your energy from what cannot return. Every moment you release the past, you reclaim power in the present. And the present is the only place creation exists. Equally, surrender is releasing the future. The mind obsesses over what might happen, what could go wrong, what must unfold. But the future is not here. It is imagination projected outward. When you cling to the future, you leave the present. You live in a constant state of waiting, of postponing, of postponement. Surrender returns you to now. It says, "What I need is here. What I seek is on its way. I do not need to grip tomorrow to live fully today." This release is not laziness. It is power, because the only way to influence the future is to align in the present. And the present only opens when you stop clutching at what is not yet real. Some confuse surrender with abandoning desire. But the law of surrender is not about renouncing what you want. It is about aligning with the essence of your desire, while releasing the demand for how and when it must appear. Surrender means holding desire lightly. You let the fire of longing burn, but you do not choke it with control. You allow it to radiate, not to imprison you. When you desire without clinging, you invite abundance. When you desire without desperation, you embody wholeness. The universe responds not to the intensity of your wanting but to the clarity of your frequency. And surrender purifies that frequency. At the root of surrender lies a deep knowing. I am already enough. Without this knowing, every desire becomes grasping. Every action becomes striving. Every pursuit becomes proof-seeking. But when you know you are already whole, you stop using desires to fix yourself. You stop demanding outcomes to validate you. You stop tying your worth to conditions. Surrender flows naturally from enoughness. Because when you know you are enough, you no longer fear letting go. You no longer fear losing. You no longer fear delay. Enoughness is the soil from which surrender grows. And surrender is the bridge through which life pours its abundance. The image is simple. Life is a current, always moving, always guiding, always caring. The only reason you feel exhausted is because you are swimming against it. The only reason you feel lost is because you are resisting where it flows. Surrender means turning over and floating. It means remembering that the current knows where it is going. It means trusting that the river of life is more intelligent than your frantic paddling. The cosmic law of surrender is the law of returning to the current. Because the current has always known the way. Allowing is the heart of surrender. Not forcing, not demanding, not insisting. Simply allowing. Allowing life to reveal its rhythm. Allowing yourself to be carried. Allowing moments to be what they are, without grasping for what they should be. When you allow, you dissolve the friction between yourself and reality. You stop arguing with the moment. And in that silence, in that openness, you meet grace. Grace is the natural current of existence. It was never absent. It was only hidden beneath the noise of your resistance. Many mistake surrender for weakness. They believe that yielding means losing. But yielding is not defeat. It is a deeper strength. When the wind bends a tree, the rigid one breaks. The flexible one survives. Yielding is not collapse. It is wisdom in motion. Life is not conquered by force. It is embraced through harmony. Surrender is not submission to chaos. It is alignment with order so vast that the mind cannot measure it. The quiet strength of yielding is the mark of true power. One of the hardest dimensions of surrender is trusting time. The mind insists, it must happen now. If it does not happen now, it is lost. But life does not operate on the clock of impatience. Life unfolds on the clock of precision. Everything arrives at the exact moment it is meant to. Not a day too soon. Not a moment too late. The mind calls delay a punishment. The soul knows delay is preparation. Surrender means loosening your grip on timing. It means trusting that when the pieces are ready, they will align. That when the path is clear, it will open. The law of surrender reveals that waiting is not wasted. Waiting is gestation. And every seed has its season. Another subtle prison is the how. The mind insists on dictating how things must unfold. It creates rigid pathways and then suffers when life does not obey. But the how is not yours to control. It belongs to the intelligence of life. Your work is clarity of essence. Life's work is the orchestration of details. When you let go of the how, you free the universe to surprise you. You allow life to deliver outcomes through avenues you never imagined. You open yourself to possibilities beyond your limited vision. Surrender is not abandoning creation. It is collaborating with it. It is letting the infinite weave where the finite cannot. Surrender does not reject effort. It transforms it. It shifts effort from strain to alignment. Without surrender, effort becomes exhausting, a battle against the current. With surrender, effort becomes effortless, a dance with the flow. The paradox is this: the less you force, the more powerful your actions become. The less you grip, the more potent your movements are. Because true effort is not about intensity. It is about congruence. It is about acting from harmony with what already wants to unfold. Surrender aligns effort with ease. And in that union, miracles occur. The mind thrives on control. It is addicted to planning, worrying, analyzing. But surrender requires a silence that the mind resists. This silence is not empty. It is full. Full of clarity. Full of presence. Full of peace. When you surrender, you enter this silence. And from that silence, you begin to see reality without distortion. You begin to act without noise. You begin to live without constant interference. The silence beyond the mind is not absence, it is essence. It is the place where surrender becomes natural, not forced. Detachment is not indifference. It is freedom. To be detached does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. It means you no longer tie your peace to outcomes. When you are detached, you love without chains. You work without fear. You dream without desperation. Detachment is the fertile ground where surrender flowers. Because you are no longer enslaved by results. You are liberated to live, to act, to love, fully, freely, completely. Surrender is not one-sided. When you let go, life meets you. When you release, life responds. This is cosmic reciprocity. The law that what you release returns in higher form. The law that what you trust is entrusted back to you. The law that when you let go of control, you step into true co-creation. Surrender is the door through which reciprocity flows. Because the universe cannot place gifts into clenched fists. Only open hands receive. Surrender is not a single act. It is a way of being. It is a posture of openness, repeated moment by moment. To live as surrender is to stop fighting life. To live as surrender is to move in rhythm with what is unfolding. To live as surrender is to trust the unseen architecture of existence. It does not mean you never desire. It does not mean you never act. It means you desire without clinging and act without fear. Living as surrender is not losing life. It is finally entering it fully. The cosmic law of surrender is simple. What you cling to slips. What you release flows. Control is an illusion. Force is a prison. Resistance is exhaustion. But surrender is freedom. Surrender is abundance. Surrender is alignment with the intelligence that moves galaxies, turns tides, beats hearts, and breathes life into you. Letting go does not mean losing. Letting go means opening. Opening to a life larger than your plans, more precise than your control, more generous than your fears. This is why surrender unlocks everything. Because only in letting go can you finally be carried by the infinite.